Hey guys, it's Matt here, coming at you with another episode of Matt Rants. So, in this Matt Rants, we're actually going to do something that's very interesting, which I kind of say that every episode because I feel like they are interesting, but in this case, it's not just going to be interesting, it's actually we're going to go back to something that's a bit more topical, based on what some people have been saying recently throughout the internet. But this is actually something that people have been asking, or people have been talking about, not since the dawn of YouTube, because then it was too young, too new. A lot of people were watching, if there were people watching, I would argue they're watching more cat videos than long form videos like they are today, but this is still a question that's been going on for a very long time, and the question is it bad for YouTubers to get free products to review? So in this case, because I'm doing this for Those Guys Play, because this is for Those Guys Play's YouTube channel, this is going to just cover gaming materials. I mean, it can also cover things like, game capture devices and stuff like that, but I'm going to steer clear of things like cameras or, I don't know, mini TVs, or, I mean, maybe if someone got a CRT in the mail by a company making selling new old stock or something like that, but I don't really think that's happening. And if it is, comment below and talk to me about it. But I'm pretty sure people aren't getting CRTs in the mail, but from companies to try to review. But it does happen somewhat, right? There are some people, some YouTubers who do get these free products to review. We don't. If you look at our subscriber count as of this recording, it's not even 100 yet. So no, we don't get free products to review, even when it comes to game codes, right? One person has sent me a game code, but most of the time, if you've seen the games that we play on the channel, they're either really weird indie retro stuff, and not like what's playing right now on the screen, Whispering Willows, which I'll talk about in a second, as to how I got that code. And so not referring to Whispering Willows, referring to like the Nicolas Cage dating sim, and a bunch of those other fun, interesting dating sims that I did. Those are found online for free, like on sites like itch.io.com, itchy like itchio.io. Sorry, itchy.io, no .com. So itchi, yes, very interesting stuff. But yeah, itchy.io. So why am I talking about these free games? Because you do, in my opinion, there are certain guidelines that you have to go by, I think, that make it okay. That if you get a free product in, you have to kind of discuss. And if you do that, then I think you can kind of, to me anyway, and I know I'm a YouTuber, I know you might say that I'm biased and I'm part of the community. I have, talked about some of the things that YouTubers are doing within the community before, so I'm not trying to sit here and be like, let me tell you why YouTubers are always right. Because I do admit that if a YouTuber doesn't discuss the fact that they've gotten a free product into review or a free Steam code or something like that, it can be problematic. So, have I discussed, why did I bring up Whispering Willows? Not just because it's on the screen as we're playing it, and a game that I want to get back to, but I have not gotten back to. I have not played in a long time on the channel, sadly. Might just rotate host because Satish Ram is very busy. So why am I talking about Whispering Willows right now, right? Because I actually ended up getting a free Steam code for that. Why did I never discuss that? Why am I breaking news? Because funnily enough, it wasn't given to me because, we're such a big channel. The developers, Nightlight Interactive, are really nice people, because this is back, so imagine a few years ago when we could monetize our stuff on YouTube just by joining. So I did that, and I wanted to see if I could monetize it or not, because obviously not every developer, not every creator allows you to monetize their video games. So what did I do? I emailed them personally. I said, hey, am I able to do this? And they said, not only that, here's a free Steam code. So I was ready to pay the $5, $10, $15. So, it was just a beautiful thing. Not every developer is going to do that, especially being under 100 subscribers, not having that many people watching at the time. Don't think that people are just going to hand you Steam codes, because they're not. Right? Some companies do want to, or some people do want to promote their game, and they might, throw a Steam code your way. That happened to me recently. I still haven't played that game or even looked into it, this random other game that I got a Steam code for. But literally, those are the only 2 times that I've gotten Steam codes for games. Now, I could be more on the offensive and ask, but personally, it's a few things. One, as you guys know, my PC isn't that, it's not that stable. right, in terms of trying to play newer high-end games on it. I mentioned that before on different episodes of just in general throughout, those guys on the radio. I've talked about the fact that my PC is not that good. So, nor is my laptop. But even if my PC was better, that's not really the point, because it's not just about things like small games here and there. A lot of the times, especially recently, we're seeing people get full-on physical releases. We're seeing them show it off on camera, doing unboxings, things like that. And you know what? I'm actually going to say the YouTubers' names, not to try to call them out and say, how dare you? Because again, my opinion does not skew the same way others do, right? So, in terms of like, oh, this is bad no matter what, this is the worst. So looking at YouTubers like RGT85 and John Riggs with Sydney Hunter for the Super Nintendo, and also I believe the Immortal John Hancock has also gotten some games recently sent to him, like new retro style games for the NES or for the Super Nintendo. Can't think of anyone off the top of my head. In general, not just gaming related, Metal Jesus has also gotten some stuff in. Like, I think it was like the GDP Win. That was the thing, the $300 device that he did a negative review on. So, that's another thing too, right? Not just the fact that YouTubers should disclose. So here are I'll just give you my guidelines, right? My tips. If you're a YouTuber, here are some tips. And in general, here are some guidelines that, in my opinion, make it okay, or err on the side of okay, rather, if you're a YouTuber, or if a YouTuber gets a free product in. So first off, you gotta mention that you got it for free. Why did I do that for Whispering Willows? I straight up forgot. I didn't think it needed to be said at the time. I was also a young YouTuber, and also it was only a couple bucks, I believe. Nothing crazy, right? Not like $300 items, right? So that's the first thing. You gotta acknowledge, hey, I got this item in for free. Which, by the way, these YouTubers have been doing. So Metal Jesus Rocks, RGT85, the Immortal John Hancock, and John Riggs. If they're getting items in for free, they're mentioning that they got them in. This was sent to me. So they're mentioning that already immediately, right? So that's the first thing that you have to do. And that's why I give them credit for doing that. The second thing that you have to do as well, and in some cases this is done, but in some cases it isn't. And in this case, I'm not actually going to call out YouTubers directly or mention their names directly, because I can't actually think of certain ones that are doing this and not doing this off the top of my head. So I don't want to say one person didn't do this and then they may have done it a few videos back and I just forgot about it. So the next thing that they also have to do is put into perspective the fact that they got this for free. So what do I mean by that in particular, right? What I mean is, and Metal Jesus, I will say, definitely did this, even though he got a free item for $300 some odd, which I think was the GDP Win. He looked at that kind of emulation machine and straight up said, is this good? Right? It's not, and I know some people might go, oh, but that's what a reviewer is supposed to do. But I do admit that I think some YouTubers, and now I'm just opening it up to every YouTuber out there, right? Some YouTubers, it might just be because of what they can afford, perhaps. Might just be because of the fact that, they got it for free, and they just don't realize that when they say, oh, this is a good item, you should definitely buy it. It's more so, is it good in context for how much it's worth? Right. So, but I will admit though, looking at it from a new old games perspective, not just the 40 Winks things, the Kickstarter with all that stuff, but looking at stuff like Sydney Hunter and some other new games as well that are coming out for like NES and Super Nintendo. I'm okay with them being $60 to $80 if it's a good game. I gotta be real there. Right? So I will admit that right there. I'm not saying that I'm going to purchase every single one, but I'm okay with it being at that price for certain reasons, right? And that's a whole other video. That's a whole other video that I can just, do a Matt Rants episode on. But specifically talking about the fact that, some YouTubers might look at a product and they might think, oh, hey, that's definitely worth it. And it's like, okay, but is it worth it in context to what you would have paid for it? Which I think YouTubers do try to do, but it can be a bit harder when you're not putting your own, money into it. Now, I actually have bought everything that I review on the channel Every like hard piece of hardware that I review on the channel, when it comes to video games, I'll probably just borrow them from a friend if I don't have them myself from when I was a kid. So when it comes to hardware, stuff like you've seen on Clone Corner and you will continue to see on Clone Corner, all of those have been bought with my own dime. None of them have been sent to me. Now, I'm not saying, companies, that you can't send us things. In no way is those guys on the radio at Gmail holder, such as myself, because I made it, right? I made that email. In no way am I saying that you can't send stuff my way at those guys radio on Twitter. I'm not saying that, companies. I'm just saying that up until this point, I have bought everything that I have showcased on the channel. Or I've gotten them online for free, like I mentioned earlier, through Itch.io and stuff like that. So my point is that when it comes to, and again, that's not me trying to be like, oh, I'm so cool. See, no, it's because just like many of you YouTubers know out there, many of you, and if some of you don't know, right, some of you, longtime listeners, watchers, or just new listeners and watchers of the channel, if you don't know, not every YouTuber is getting something for free. Right? Not every single YouTuber is getting an item. Heck, some YouTubers get items and they don't get to keep them, right? If they're in beta mode or even in general, they might be like, hey, this is a review copy. Just do the review and then send it back to us. Usually not, because that is a little off, right? In some cases, but in other cases, it might actually be, par for the course. The same way that other companies, like, on television get like review copies of a game, like or a movie or something like that. Like, I wouldn't imagine that every single person that does a review of a movie for, the nightly news or something like that at the tail end gets the full non-watermarked version of the film. Some might. Some probably don't, right? So, in this case, I feel like, so point number one, it's the idea that you gotta mention it, you gotta say it out loud, I've gotten this for free. And two, you gotta think about it in the context of, right, I got this for free. Would it be good if I didn't get this for free, if I actually paid whatever the full amount is for the item? And number three, and this isn't always done either, and I think it should maybe be done a little bit more. It really depends. It's a case-by-case basis, right? Doing an in-depth review on an item that you got in for free. Now, usually, to be fair, that is done in the sense that if a big company had sent you some kind of camera, even though I said I was going to steer clear of cameras, of like cameras or lighting equipment or, video game recording software, hardware, something like that, of course you're going to promote the hell out of that. That's some big company. But when it's usually smaller indie developers, I'll see some YouTubers, and maybe if it's this small of a video, they're just like, no, I bought it myself, or no, I'm just a fan, or no, I'm just signal boosting, which is good, right? But in some cases, it's such a small video kind of promoting this Kickstarter that in no way am I saying that I haven't promoted Kickstarters before, quote unquote promote as in just talk about them during our Keikaku Corner podcast. And I have, so I'm not going to say that I haven't, right? We even had a section of the podcast where it was just our weekly, hey, we'll talk about some Kickstarters. So that was kind of fun, right, to do and just kind of speculate and stuff like that. So I'm not going to say that people can't do it out of the goodness of their hearts or because they just want to discuss something, on a show or something like that. So I'm not going to say people can't do it, but I will admit that, it does seem a little confusing, especially to some of you, watchers out there. If you see a YouTuber who, I'm not talking about PewDiePie's here, but, in the YouTube middle class, right? In YouTube, like, we're smack in the middle, or maybe like lower middle class. We're YouTube poor. We gotta move up in the world, but personally, in terms of other YouTube channels where they just kind of release like a 1 to 2 to 3 minute video, just discussing a product or an item, and then not necessarily reviewing it in depth, and then saying something like, get it today. Right? Like, sure, they may have already mentioned, hey, I got the item for free. Hey, you should get it too. And to be fair, look, again, like I said earlier, if they mention they got the item for free, that's great. But it does seem a little bit off-putting or a little hollow if they say they got the item for free and then only do a 3-minute review on it or something like that. And then you're kind of sitting back like, okay, are we not going to get the whole... the big, the whole kit and caboodle, like a whole thing about this item because you got it for free. I want to know why I should get it. And again, it's not like this is always being done, but it does happen sometimes. And, I'm not going to call out specific YouTubers because, again, I don't want to say one doesn't and then someone goes, but the other one did it too, and you mentioned their name earlier. So I'm not going to do that. But in general, it I can understand why it would seem frustrating if someone just did a small video about the product and then didn't expand on it either in future videos or just in the same video itself. But while I personally don't think it's bad for YouTubers to get these free products to review, I do know that a lot of you guys out there still, I'm sure, have your rebuttals, still have some of your points that you want to throw at me. You can do that in the comments below, of course, but before you even do that, let's just address what some of them might be right now as we're kind of wrapping up this episode of Matt Rants. Very short episode, a good short episode of Matt Rants. So, let's talk about this right now, right? What are some of the counterpoints that you might throw at me or other YouTubers, right? You might say, well, as a YouTuber, you're making a lot of money, right? You're making money. Why should you be getting items for free on top of that? Well, here's the thing, right? For some YouTubers, I mean, I've even mentioned this during the kind of like a YouTube demonetization rant. I did that recently about, the new policies in place. Even before the policies were put into place, I made pennies. I did not make a lot of money. I made most of the money that I made an actual upwards of $1 with using the Nintendo creators, the monetization program, right? So I have not made a lot of money personally through YouTube. That's why YouTubers have Patreons, which can be a whole other Matt Rants episode, but that's why YouTubers have Patreons. That's why YouTubers ask certain companies, hey, can I review this product? Hey, can I review this product? And you might be like, oh, well, Matt, you should have a real job. Go out and get a real job, Matt. Well, I do. And many other YouTubers have one as well. And they have one. Thankfully, I live with family, but they have their own family, some of them. Some of them live alone. Some of them don't live with roommates. Some of them might live with roommates, but still, their 9-to-5 minimum wage job is eating away at, anything they could say like, oh, I have extra money to, because here's the thing, right? Extra money to just do anything, really. So when it comes to being, especially looking at the whole gaming YouTuber perspective here, yes, you might say, oh, but they're going to want to buy these games anyway. They're going to want to have fun with them. Some, yes, but some of them they might think, I don't know about you guys, but personally, I think, oh, am I going to buy this new game or this new system or this new whatever it might be? Is this going to break the bank for me? Should I buy a new game for $60 versus getting a few retro titles, some of them in box, some of them sealed, right? For maybe like 5 of them for $60. Right? Which one should I do? And it really is like a weighing thing for me. Like I just put one up on one hand, put one up on the other hand. I'm like, what is the best decision? What is more of a bang for my buck? Right? And sometimes, yes, I'm buying things just for the channel. They're cheap, but sometimes I'm buying things for the channel. Other times I'm like, oh my god, I want this, I love this, and I can then talk about this on the channel. This is so interesting, this is so unique, right? A lot of the Matt PS1 demo discs that I've gotten, many of them I've had over the years from when I was a kid, but other ones I've gotten fairly recently because they're so unique, they're so different. Not for resale cartridges that I really should get back to playing because I purchased those. I should definitely, because no company's going to send me not for resale cartridges. Nintendo's not going to be like, you know what, we put these in kiosks like Toys R Us. Your channel looks like it's dying. Here, you should have this too. No one's doing that for me, right? So, looking at a lot of the stuff that I've bought for the channel, that's the key word in there, I bought. So really, at this point, even if you're going to say, oh, you shouldn't be making a profit off YouTube, to a certain degree, okay, I'm not saying I agree with you, but even if we go with that logic, at the end of the day, it's about making your money back. It's about breaking even, honestly. I think the first step, being a YouTuber, isn't even about making money. It's about breaking even. And then you can start thinking about luxuries like making money on the internet. Because especially with YouTube's current, ad revenue issues and adpocalypses and all that stuff, it's not easy for a YouTuber. Heck, even look at some YouTubers that have thousands and thousands and thousands. I'm talking about like, 50K subscribers. If their videos are only getting a few thousand views each, I mean, if they're releasing daily content, that's great and all, and it's a great side income, but there's a reason why, like I mentioned earlier, YouTubers have Patreons, and YouTubers have books, and YouTubers have DVDs. It's about diversifying your revenue streams, right? It's not just about having YouTube as the main source of revenue. And frankly, if you are, reviewing things constantly on YouTube, because there's a big difference between you, a gamer, saying, I want to buy one new game a week, right? Let's say you're just a console gamer, and I don't mean that as I'm just a console gamer, but the point is that you're like, I want to buy a new game a week, and that new game is $60, and I'm going to beat that game in a week, and then next week I'm going to pay for another game for $60, and we're going to keep on doing that for the entire month. A YouTuber might need to be doing that per day to then do quick either reviews or do end up, like just doing quick playthroughs or doing other kinds of, maybe they need it for some kind of comparison video, right? Like a lot of like the Did You Know Gaming stuff and things like that. So when it comes to getting stuff for your channel, it can add up, right? So, and especially, I know I mentioned, I'm getting, trying to get cheap games and things like that. But if you're a channel that reviews brand new games, I mean, look at beat 'em ups, look at RGT85, who had to buy WWE 2K18 for the Nintendo Switch. They had to get that retail, guys. Let's sit back and think about that. You had to get that. I don't think it was a reduced price as far as I know. So you had to pay $60 digitally or even physically for this game. That broken mess. So that's why if it was sent to them, right? I mean, that's the thing. I said they had to pay for it. If they didn't have to pay for it, if it was sent to them, that's amazing. But for the way RGT85 makes it sounds like he actually had to pay for that. So the idea that, as YouTubers, of course we're having fun. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's so hard playing this video game. I mean, it's funny because it can be. Some of the games can be hard. You guys have seen me play stuff for product placed where I'm literally, and to be fair, it's more of the shoving the food down my throat, but in general, right, it can be hard playing some of these games. But my point is that like I'm not sitting here like, oh, woe is me, but it is the idea though that some YouTubers, when they get bigger, it's just a bit easier to offset those costs that they would be, putting in to do even more reviews, even bigger reviews, even bigger let's plays, even bigger teardowns or things like that. It is, you have to offset those costs somehow by basically sometimes talking to certain companies, being like, hey, look, I have this influence, or I have a big enough audience. I think that's the better term to use. Influence. It's funny because sometimes I see YouTubers talk about influence, and that's in a good way, like, oh, hey, build your influence. But in other ways, I feel like when I say influence, it's like, build up your influence. Like, it's just like, all right, Palpatine, calm the fuck down. So, but, you have these viewers who are who trust you. Right? And so because of that, you go to these companies, you say, hey, can I review this product fairly? And a lot of YouTubers, like looking at Pat the NES Punk as one, he's talked about on camera, hey, I don't do reviews of stuff if I shouldn't be disclosed. If a company says don't disclose it, right, during the negotiation process. He said, I don't take reviews. I don't do that, right? Because there are some YouTubers, yes, I fully admit to this. There are some YouTubers that do paid reviews, right? And you'll just see like a new product or a new digital game or something. And unless the YouTuber just does random wacky stuff every once in a while, it starts to become a little bit awkward when you're like, why is every single YouTuber that I know that's on this multi-channel network kind of branched underneath them, why are they all playing the same mobile game? That's interesting. Usually they focused on retro gaming. But to be fair, just to be 100% fair, there are certain, mobile games that do look appealing to me. Like I love the WWE Supercard app. Is that really it? That might actually be it. But my point, Pokemon Go. So it's not like they're completely out of my wheelhouse. But at the same time, though, what games I usually focus on. So believe me, if I come out with something a little bit different, a little bit esoteric, because I do like to change things up a little bit. But I understand why some of you guys would be a little curious and would be a little concerned and would ask in the comments, hey, what's going on here, right? And I totally get that because sadly, YouTube is not as regulated. It's funny. In some cases, I'm like, leave our YouTube alone. But in other cases, I'm like, all right, maybe YouTube should be a little bit more regulated when it comes to things like people not saying, oh, hey, I got this product to review, right? But to be fair to some of these YouTubers, I personally don't think we should be stopping them from doing these free reviews because at the end of the day, look, I mean, again, maybe it's just the plight of a YouTuber that I understand, that I've experienced. even though I've been buying these products, if I could have gotten some of them for free, I would tell you guys first, but I would have no problem doing so. Maybe if I didn't even enjoy the product as much as, I would like, but some of you guys have talked about enjoying a product, I could like give it away as like a Patreon exclusive or something like that, right? Let me give away this console to whoever, goes to that tier on Patreon or something like that. So, I will admit that is something that could be done. I'm not going to say that it can't be done, but I know that John Riggs gives away some of his duplicate games and repros and homebrews and hacks over at his Patreon. So that's cool, right? That's fun. But yeah, so the reason why I'm being fair to these YouTubers is because, like I mentioned way earlier with rule number 1, a lot of the ones that I watch, that I see, not that I know personally, but that I know, just looking at them through YouTube, they definitely do the first rule, which the first rule, if you guys have forgotten, even though it's not a long rant, the first rule is, hey, you should disclose whether or not this item was given to you for free. I'm sure the rule was much smaller before, much shorter before, but that's still a hard, fast rule for me. And if you don't do that, and then it comes out like the CSGO stuff, where they owned the company that they were using to bet, nope, no bueno, no bueno. Shut that shit down. Shut that shit down. You should, if you don't go to jail, you should at least lose your YouTube channel, because that's wrong, right? That's fraud. In this case, as long as YouTubers are coming out saying, hey, this item was given to me, let's do a review, it's not fraud. And also, more importantly, if it's in line with, like, look, I'd understand, even though I'm sure Metal Jesus would rock some, some face glitter or some other kind of, some mascara. Even though he is a musician, so maybe he has worn some mascara in his day, but in terms of actually like being part of his channel, it would be awkward if he was like, let's review these face products. It's like, wait, that's not what you do here. You do video games, right? So when he gets a new product in and it's, some kind of console or some kind of dust cover for his, for his old consoles or game pillows, interesting stuff, right? Maybe some stuff you're like, well, I didn't really come here for this exactly, but it still is both good video material and it's stuff that does relate to the channel. Metal Jesus Rocks' channel is definitely more just gaming in general than it is just one specific thing, right? So personally, I think it's okay for YouTubers to get these free products. If you disagree, that's okay too, right? Comment below, discuss what you think about it, what you feel. I just think that, at the end of the day, unless you are, and I don't use his name to diss him, but I'm being just dead honest, unless you're like PewDiePie level where you're getting millions and millions and millions of dollars, then I understand if you guys are like, but you're getting millions. But there aren't a lot of YouTubers that are getting millions and millions of dollars, especially not just through YouTube alone. So really, it's just again a cost-cutting measure that really helps some of your channels, as in channels that you watch, survive and thrive in a YouTube that could at any moment demonetize them, tell them don't use your Patreon, stop them from doing X, Y, or Z, whatever it might be. There's a reason why YouTubers get these free products in or ask for these free products, because just imagine if you were spending $60 per day and then you had a job on the side where you had to, actually just feed your family, right? Or help yourself live. And then you have people telling you, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You should get a real job, which you already have. And you should also buy all the products yourself, which, again, at the end of the day, then it's not even about making money. Again, it's about how in the red am I this month? How in the red am I? And is there any way I can recoup these costs? Because at the end of the day, if it's not a YouTuber that you like, then okay, I understand you putting them down. But if it's a YouTuber that you like, then you would most likely want them to succeed. So even if you don't donate to their Patreon, at the very least, or even accept their Patreon exists and you shit on them for that, okay, but at the very least, accept them for having the ability to get some products in and review them, right? So that's just my, take on it. But if you guys disagree, if you guys feel differently, please comment below. I would love to hear what you guys, how you guys feel about the situation and what you think about all of this overall. Maybe you're a YouTuber and you want to talk about some of the items that you've gotten for free. Maybe you want to plug yourself down there. You can in the comment section. I'm sure 5 people would be like, oh, that's really cool. That person plugged themselves in the comment section below. But again, I just want to thank you all so much for listening, for watching as always. Thank you guys so much for being us. And if you want to get involved involved in Those Guys Play or Those Guys on the Radio or TG Productions any further, you can actually go to our Patreon, which, yes, I'm doing a Patreon plug, which are patreon.com/TG Productions. Depending on what tier you donate to, you can become part of the experience, part of the project, part of any of our projects. You can actually sponsor us. We can give you guys a shout out at the end of our videos, like I would right now, right? Or you can actually have a shout out at the end of our Those Guys on the Radio podcasts, or our Keikaku Corner podcasts, or really anything we do on TG Productions as well. It depends on, what video series or what channel you want to be shouted out on. Or depending on what tier you give to, you can actually shape our podcasts like Keikaku Corner by sending us, you can actually send us different news articles just right now through at Those Guys Radio, or depending on what tier you give to, you can actually be like, no, I want you guys to really talk about this. So the way I look at Patreon personally, I either look at it as like a $1 tip jar, or just an in general tip jar, or I look at it as kind of a way to, kind of like an express lane, right? Because I want to give you guys all of the content, all of the time, for all of the channels. But that's a lot of stuff going on, just in general, just in life, right? So even though I do try to give content for all three channels when I can, during, different dates and different schedules, stuff like that, if you guys say, hey, look, I know this video is getting a lot of views, but I really want you to do this video, and it didn't get a lot of views, not many people liked it, but if you are telling me I loved it to death, through our Patreon, by giving to one of the tiers, which is a certain tier located for, basically say like, YouTube videos for like Those Guys on the Radio, podcast reviews, or even something like a top 5 review or something like that. Or when it comes to video game reviews or Let's Plays or stuff like that, mix and matching different hosts or different episodes of Matt Begins from his childhood. So if you said, Matt, I know you're very busy, but I want you to go back to doing Yoshi's Island, which I will be soon, but I want you to go back to doing Yoshi's Island right now. Well, then depending on the tier you give to, and you give to that tier and say, I would like to see a Yoshi's Island from you, I'm going to immediately try to put out a Yoshi's Island just for you. Even if other people are saying, that was fun, but maybe they think it was getting repetitive, whatever they might think. I understand what their concerns might be, but if you are basically, giving to what essentially the fast lane, I'm not going to try and stop other videos from coming out just for you because I don't want to, alienate other viewers. But I do know, okay, that's their way of saying, hey, I really want this. And that's cool. Speaking of things you might really want, you might actually want some of our t-shirts, which you can get over at our eBay, which is ebay.com/USR/ThoseGuysRadio, or you can get even more of our t-shirts over at our main website, tgproduction.net/merchandise. And also our main website is how you can focus and follow all of our different channels, all of our different, clips and reviews and stuff that we're doing, all of our different videos. You can actually go to our main website, tgproduction.net, or our Facebook, which is facebook.com/ThoseGuysRadio, Those Guys on the Radio, or go to our Twitter, which is at Those Guys Radio. Again, thank you all so much. Love you guys. Take care. Hope you had fun. Definitely check some of our podcasts out on Those Guys on the Radio, and keep on watching stuff on Those Guys Play. Love you guys. Take care. Comment below. I would love to hear your concerns and your general outrage. See ya.